All right, joined with Mike Gambardella, the totally forgot what you told me to say. Our resident Boston sports fan in the house.
Yeah, former.
For lack of better words.
Yeah, former Big East Conference and Brown University Sports Information Director. Large presence on Twitter, handle at BIG3Sports. So, just here today talking about everything that has happened and is currently happening with the Boston Marathon and everything that's going on up in Watertown right now. Just an amazing and tragic situation, really, that has happened and is happening. And one that has hit close to home with me, being from Providence, just an hour outside of Boston, and my younger brother, who recently just took a job at the Lenox Hotel and was literally 10 feet away when these explosions went off. And luckily he was fine and was able to get word out to our family as soon as it did happen that he was okay. But just an unbelievable situation that's going on right now.
Right, and you mentioned before how the whole sports community has sort of been tied into this, because marathon is Boston Marathon especially is highly covered. And you mentioned you got goosebumps the other night, watching the Boston Bruins game.
Right, with Marathon Monday and Patriots Day, everything really tied into the city of Boston, and definitely just a proud feeling with that day that all of Boston and really New England takes great pride in. And then after the tragedy, it seems that a lot of times tragedies are followed by moments where people can really come together and really do that around sports. And as you said, that feeling that I got, those goosebumps that I got, were really present watching the Bruins game on Wednesday night when their anthem singer Renee Rancourt, who's famous in the Boston area for his fist pumps, obviously, after the anthem. But on this night, it wasn't about him, as he stopped singing the anthem after just 2 lines because the entire arena was then singing it. And it was a truly passionate moment where you could really see that the entire city of Boston, and the country rallying around and really came together. And even after the game, even though the Bruins lost in overtime, both teams came out on center ice, holding their sticks high, showing, Boston and the world that even though they had suffered through a great tragedy, that, they would be able to move past it. And people really can use sports as a mechanism to do that.
It's funny you mentioned the whole New England community, because a lot of it could be city-based, but you being from Providence, it's sort of more than that. It's just basically from, Maine to D.C., even down here to D.C.
Right. It is, and you'd say with sports again, New England Patriots. It's not just Boston, and they're just outside in Foxborough, but as it stretches from Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, getting into Massachusetts, parts of Connecticut, Rhode Island, and as you said, you come down here, you'll find Boston fans, New England fans everywhere, and it is something that people from Boston, people from New England are very proud of, to be a New England fan, to be from Boston, and as we keep going back to that sense of pride about being from Boston is something that they hold very dear to themselves.
All right, and speaking of Boston sports, the NFL schedule was released. Are you excited what the path of the Patriots are next year, the season?
Most definitely. Just came out last night. I believe they have the 14th toughest schedule this coming season, which, as a Patriots fan, you're okay with. The big one on the calendar, obviously, is going to be that matchup against Wes Welker and the Denver Broncos, coming up. That you definitely want to see what's going to happen in that one. Maybe not bad blood as Wes is leaving, but definitely as soon as a player who has worn the Patriot uniform for so long coming back is always an interesting game. Hopefully it goes their way. And obviously the other big one you want, and maybe the D.C. community doesn't want to hear this, is some revenge against the Baltimore Ravens after that AFC Championship game, and should definitely be some good ones on the schedule this year.
Are you surprised Welker left? Because you have to hold Brady taking, I guess, less money, so they would have room to re-sign him. Are you surprised he left?
A little bit. Brady did take less money, but it wasn't necessarily to re-sign Welker. He obviously would love to have him back, but it was an organizational decision. They put what Walker's worth was at, and said, this is what we're willing to pay you, this is what your market value is. And West decided, that it's time for him to move on. And the Patriots decided to go with Danny Amendola, who, if he stays healthy, could be a viable replacement for him. And, the Patriots have been active trying to go after Emmanuel Sanders from Pittsburgh with the offer sheet, which they did match. But, bringing back Julian Edelman with a great core of tight ends as well, even though Gronk and Hernandez have had their off-season surgeries that they've underwent. Hopefully we'll have them back towards the beginning of the season, as well as some other guys like Michael Humanauanui and Jake Ballard, who people often forget about was the Giants' big star when they made their Super Bowl run. They should be all right on offense, especially with the young running back core that they have with Shane Vereen and Stephen Ridley, picking up the slack for maybe a Danny Woodhead, which is no longer with the team as well.
All right, and with the second of the big three, I guess, basketball, Boston Celtics, up their NBA playoff run, faced the New York Knicks. There's not the Heat as the hottest team in basketball, but have gone on quite a run to sort of end the season, scoring champ Carmelo Anthony. But many are saying that Boston could potentially upset the Knicks.
Yeah, I actually liked this matchup for the Celtics. I was really hoping that they would grab that 7th seed. An older team that knows what it takes to get it done with Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, new additions with Jason Terry. Even though the team is without Rajon Rondo, they did play a little bit better after he did go down. And now they know how to turn it on in the playoffs. And they do match up well with the Knicks. As you said, the scoring champ definitely presents a problem for them. But as long as Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett stay healthy through these playoffs, they definitely have a chance.
You say the Knicks are such a toss-up team, though. Some games they play really well, and some they just completely out of it. Exactly.
A streaky offensive team can easily hang 110 points on you. When your top scorer is almost at 30 points a game and can light it up for 40 quite easily. It's definitely about bringing it on the defensive end, protecting the rim, as you said, with a Kevin Garnett, someone back there to defend any of the drives, but also having players like Paul Pierce and a Jeff Green, who's really come on lately, that will be able to defend Carmelo and really try and make a J.R. Smith or a Jason Kidd, Iman Shumpert, someone else step up and try and beat you.
All right, now speaking of basketball, you allowed to talk Big East? Does that go in the guidelines?
We can talk about
it. The big. What are your thoughts on all of that? Because it's interesting, someone who actually came from that conference, which is now a completely different conference.
Right. I was a St. John's undergrad and graduate student, spent 6 great years in Queens, New York. Always hold a special place in my heart. And actually went on to do an internship here at the Big East Conference as well. Personally, as a St. John's guy, I'm glad in the direction that the Big East has gone, that the Catholic Seven, as they were known previously, decided to do what's best for them, as they don't have football. It's not about football. Big East was created on basketball, and it's good to see that the Big East will stay about basketball. And the additions that they've made with Butler coming in, it stays about basketball. And maybe it won't be 11 teams going to the dance every year, or that the record-setting year that they did have, but with Georgetown, St. John's, Villanova, Marquette, there definitely will be still some great basketball play in the Big East Conference.
Did essentially football ruin the Big East?
Unfortunately, it did. It really did. It became about, all right, we have to bring in these teams that maybe aren't as good in basketball. They're more football schools because it's about the BCS money. You make a BCS bowl, you're making money. And these conferences, that's what they're built on, is making money for the schools in your conference. And the best way to make money is to have football teams that can make runs and win national championships. So when it became, and unfortunately the straw that broke the camel's back, when the Big East is starting to add schools and looking out there and bringing in TCU, who coincidentally never played a game in the Big East, San Diego State, and then unfortunately it was Tulane that was the straw that broke the camel's back. That it became apparent to those Catholic Seven that it was no longer about basketball; it was about football. So that was the shift that really kind of separated it out, and now. You will have a Big East. It won't be the same Big East, but it will still be a Big East centered around basketball, which as a basketball guy, that's the biggest thing to me.
So you're not a football guy?
I mean, I am a football guy.
Other than the Patriots.
I am a Patriots diehard fan, but never really had a college football allegiance. Obviously, Boston College probably the closest thing to that, having a big-time football program close to me, and a high school teammate of mine, Will Blackman, who played at BC and went on to a great career with the Packers, and unfortunately the Giants, where he did win a Super Bowl, and now he's with the Seattle Seahawks, and wishing him the best.
So, never a Providence fan growing up?
Was not a PC guy. Was really not. Kind of grew up as a NBA guy NBA kid, I should say, following into basketball. And then as I started to venture into the college ranks, the first thing that caught me was St. John's. It was those Eric Barkley, the artist formerly known as Ron Artest, LeVar Postel, those guys that really got me into college basketball, and knew as I was looking for colleges that I wanted to stay in the Big East, applying to schools like St. John's, Seton Hall, UConn. Knew I wanted to go into a New York market, and that's really why I settled on St. John's.
Is Evan Fairfield still coaching them?
That was actually the Mike Jarvis days,
Oh.
right after Fairfield.
Good. I know his son went to high school together with him.
Oh, really?
And were you there were you in Providence when Patino and Billy Donovan made their Final Four run?
I was a little young at that point, but did know what was going on, and definitely some great times in Providence at that point. And it's great to see PC, getting back together to the point where they were years ago. Actually had a great season this year, made an NIT run, and Ed Cooley has done a fantastic job with that program, and definitely has them looking with their sights set on an NCAA appearance next year.
Now they're on the Catholic 7 as well?
They are in the Catholic 7.
Oh, very cool. And then last of the big three sports, baseball. How much of the three, football, basketball, and baseball, would you say you're a Red Sox fan? Is that number one, if you could rank your three?
See, that is a tough subject for me. It is tough for me to rank. It's pretty much 1A, 1B, 1C. As you said, I'm a basketball guy, so maybe the Celtics come in there, but, love football. And baseball's where it all starts. It's America's pastime. That's where, Red Sox Nation, that's where a lot of this Boston stuff starts from. And throughout the summer, especially when people, kids are off of school, people are outside. It's even if you're not going to the game, just to go out on Yawkey Way, be around Fenway Park is an experience in itself. And as a Red Sox fan, it's actually a great time right now with John Farrell back as the manager, kind of the return of the Dirt Dogs almost, back to the days of, 2004, winning World Series, having Dustin Pedroia back, leading this team, guys like Mike Napoli, Shane Victorino, Johnny Gomes, who are more in that, cowboy up, Dirt Dog mentality. And especially today, if the Red Sox game does happen, actually still up in the air with everything that's going on in Watertown right now, but David Ortiz set to make his return to the lineup tonight. Definitely some good times for the Boston Red Sox fans out there.
And watching a team completely change, I think Pedroia is the only one from that recent World Series team that's still there.
Pedroia and Ortiz, yeah.
And then, over a series of 5-6 years, just everyone is gone.
That's unfortunately professional sports now. It is tough to keep your core nucleus, I would say, or even the majority of your players together for an extended period of time, especially in a sport like baseball where there is no salary cap. So it's tough to keep, the core group of 5, 6, or even 10 players together over a long period of time because it does get so expensive to keep these guys.
Right, where does love of Boston sports come from? Because I guess for me it would be growing up in Dallas. If I liked, Houston sports. If I was like a Rockets or Texans fan. But Providence is much closer to Boston than Texas area.
Providence just an hour outside of Boston. It all starts with family, and I guess that's a great way to put it. Is the New England, Boston is about family. Your dad followed the Red Sox. His dad followed the Red Sox. So it goes back to your great-grandfather, being passionate about it. And I think the thing that makes Boston so special, as much as it was tough to go through, 86 years of losing will really bring you together. It really will. So the moment when it finally did happen, and then happened again, was just a phenomenal experience, which in turn really brought together that Red Sox nation and now onto Boston Strong, and brings everyone together to really have such a passion about New England sports.
What's been your favorite Boston sports moment in your life? If you can give me at least a top 3, because I'm pretty sure there's a million.
There are some great ones, really, whether it was, the most recent Boston Bruins parade after they won the Stanley Cup, the Celtics winning the NBA Finals, but probably one of my top ones has to be the Red Sox winning the World Series, and after being a freshman at St. John's, so being in Queens to see Aaron bleeping Boone himself ruin the dream in Game 7, the next year to be down 3-0 to the New York Yankees and see us rattle off 4 straight games was just probably the most unbelievable sports comeback in history, and one that I will remember forever.
Hey, I mean, talk about the Bruins. Is that one of the hockey? You're a big hockey. I'm assuming you're a hockey fan.
Yeah, actually grew up as probably hockey was probably the 3 in my top 3, if you will. But my dad is a big hockey guy, and you have the minor league affiliate, the Providence Bruins, which were right next door for us. So we would always go to Providence Bruins games, and that's how you kind of grew up as a kid, following them, and to kind of see the team get so close in years with guys like Ray Bourque, and kind of having that Red Sox kind of not being able to get over the hump and find that Stanley Cup championship, where you would almost, when Ray Bourque got traded to the Avalanche, you figured that's the closest I'm going to get to a Stanley Cup, so I'm rooting for the Avalanche. I felt like the Bruins won when he hoisted that cup. So when
it was like 36 years?
Yeah, it was a long time. 86 is bad, and I wish that on no team. I'm sorry, the Cubs fans out there. But, it was a long time for the Bruins, so when they finally were able to bring it home, that was a great moment.
All right, and I guess the last question is, what has been, I guess, from a sports fan's perspective, the difference between Boston and DC sports?
Well, I've only been here for a few short months, but, Boston, I mean, no disrespect to the DC sports fans, I just feel that they are a lot more passionate. They have no problem putting it in your face that they are Red Sox fans. They will tell you it's about Red Sox Nation, it's about the Patriots, it's about the Celtics, it's about the Bruins, and everything revolves around sports in Boston. That's what it's known for. In DC, there's such a history here. Obviously it's a lot about politics, but sports is now starting to make that push with the Nationals now being as good as they are. I think this summer will be a great time for DC, but in the rankings, I think it's definitely Boston 1 and everybody else.
All right, that's perfect.
Cool.